be able to express your ideas succinctly to a variety of audiences, stakeholders who might be part of your business in some way, whether that's a landlord, a grant, a potential funder, things like that. So we're gonna start with a simple model, and I'm just gonna dive right in. We're recording, so I don't want to belabor the point too much. All right, share screen, and I will share the link to this Canva template with you after, I'll drop it in the chat, and then you'll probably get an email about it afterwards as well. So I edit this a little bit, just so you all know, Canva has a lot of resources for businesses. All you have to do is go in there, type in business model, business plan, weekly agenda, goal setting. So there are all types of things. Feel free to, take a look around and pull whatever works for you. I really like this version of business model canvas or lean canvas because it's the most thorough that I found, at least on Canva. And this is typically what they look like off Canva as well. And it should start with your problem. Anytime you're creating a business plan or even creating an elevator pitch for your business, it should always start with what problem are you solving? What problem are your key customers experiencing, and how you're going to help them do that. So let's dive right in. I'm going to zoom in so that we can look closely at each section. And then afterwards, after I quickly go through this, I do want to walk someone through as a sort of live example. If we have volunteers, if you want to get some help live and model for others what we're actually looking for. So again, what are we solving? What gaps are we addressing for our customers? Ìpàdé, for example, there was a gap in co-working spaces dedicated to Black women and women of color that centered us, that reflected us to ourselves. And so we started off with that kind of being our core problem. And as time moved on, we found other problems. For example, a need for a beautiful event space. Post-pandemic, people were really interested in gathering and celebrating. And so we identified new problems or new opportunities as well. So a problem, could say problem. You could also, I'm going to add here opportunity. I like that framing. I like it. I just, it's working for me. So there might be opportunities that you come across as you continue to grow your business. So the thing about the business model canvas or business plan, these are meant to be flexible. They're living documents. They're going to change, at least once a year. You should go back to it, make sure it still resonates, or make any edits as necessary. All right, so under problem opportunity, we have existing alternatives. And this is thinking about your competitors or who's in your same area of business that is an alternative for your target customer. Again, thinking about co-working spaces, there's a ton, like WeWork, Gathering Spot in DC, what's the nice Regis, there's another one, I'm forgetting their name, Industrious. So again, there's lots of co-working spaces, but then we'll talk about what makes us different. And as far as event spaces, there are some. We didn't start off looking at event spaces as competitors. Again, that was something that evolved. So at a certain point, I had to go back and say, okay, actually, now we're in competition with different businesses. Solution. This is essentially a description of your offering. And this is important because there are a variety of ways you can think about this. There's one, your actual physical product or offering, the actual service offering. So thinking about Ìpàdé, we provide beautiful event space for people that don't, to fill the gap. But ultimately, it's more than that. It's like we create community through the activities that happen in the space, or we help people feel seen and celebrated. So there's the first kind of layer of what you're offering. And then there's a second layer, which is about the experience that you're providing. So you can take this as far as you want. There are no limitations on your solution. It's like, oh, I have to say it this way. No, there's none of that. As long as it's very clear to someone who's not you, right? So show it to other people and say, hey, do you understand what I'm talking, like what I'm saying here? And if they don't, talk through it. That's another thing that people could benefit from is a process called customer discovery. Getting live feedback from people who would be their target customers or people who just aren't even familiar with their industry to say, it does make sense or it doesn't make sense. You always want to be speaking so clearly that someone who's not familiar with your industry can understand it. So, yep, you're offering the emotional offering. When people come into Ìpàdé, they should feel warm, they should feel welcomed, these types of things. Oh no. Okay, let's see. Zoom back in. Unique value proposition. What makes your idea unique? This is interesting because a lot of I'm not a lot. I would say some people in entrepreneurship will try to make it seem like you have to have a completely new idea. And there's nothing new under the sun. There's 50 million coffee shops. What makes a new coffee shop unique, right? So it's important to think through this, but without putting pressure on yourself to have invented something new. You don't need a new invention. You just need to tell people what makes you special, what makes Ìpàdé special, what makes the Tanna Fund special, right? So for example, the differentiator for the Tanna Fund is that it invests in early stage. A lot of grant makers, investors do not give grants to people who haven't been in business for less than 2 years, 3 years, who don't have all these things in place, right? So it's like, hey, that was a gap. There aren't that many grants for Black women and women of color, gender expansive people of color, who are just getting started. So that makes us different and it makes us unique. And our focus on Black women and gender expansive people also makes us unique. So there are certainly things that you can find about your offering that's different, that's unique again, but it doesn't have to be earth-shattering, right? That's just an unrealistic expectation that I think a lot of people place, especially in like venture capital. That's a whole nother conversation. We're not going to go there. Unfair advantage. What do we have that others cannot replicate or acquire? For example, our network, our data that we've collected, or our reputation. I like to think Ìpàdé has a great reputation. We've got 5 stars on both of the platforms we're on, Google and Peerspace. And a lot of people come to us through word of mouth. So we definitely have an advantage of our reputation that we've built. We have the advantage of the people who were our founding members, who poured into the community, who still do. The community that we've built of people who come into the space regularly for different things. And we have the my lived experience and the lived experiences of the people like Shannon and Nicole and others who are involved that make all these happenings possible. So no one can replicate what I do, and no one can replicate what you do. So that's an automatic unfair advantage. Hey, I'm bringing my years of experience in public health for, Chelsea, for example, my years of experience to the table, and I'm able to do X, Y, Z. There might be some other people that have, like Shannon, she's got years of experience in philanthropy, collective giving, and that she's bringing that to the Tanna Fund in a way that no one else can. So there are a number of things you can put there. It doesn't always have to be about you, but that's certainly a thing that is highly valuable. Like, founders are unique, people are unique, and you always have something that's special to offer. And there may be other things, again, like data, resources, connections, as well. Moving on to customer segments. This is also very important. So, the distinction is between users, I'm going to bold this in the template, and customers. All right. You can have people that are purchasing the product, but who are not mainly using the product. So a user and a customer, these are different people. Potentially. Sometimes they're the same. In some cases, they're not. So you're gonna have to, again, think critically about that. Just as much detail as you can. You've probably seen like a customer profile where you build out, you talk about their demographic information, you talk about what they like, where they go, who they know, all of these details about your target user. Actually, you're going to want to know. You're probably going to want to know the same for a customer as well. So you should have a customer profile as well as a user profile. And if they're the same, making sure that's clear. Customers, for example, at Ìpàdé, we get, people book the venue for gatherings, for parties, for celebrations. Sometimes we get wedding rehearsal dinners or, wedding parties. And the customer is actually family of the bride or the person with the shower or whoever. So it might be her dad who's paying for the venue, or a friend who's picking out the venue and helping them plan. So that person is the customer because they're giving the money. The user is, that family, the people being celebrated, all their guests that you need to consider. For a coffee shop, customer and user probably be the same. They're paying, they're drinking, they're sitting in the coffee shop. That's the same person. But again, there are unique cases. Oh, if you think about like parents buying products for their children, that's always going to be a customer and user dynamic. So your customer is picking out your product based on different factors than what the user is going to consider, right? Is the toy, or is the child going to enjoy the toy? That's from a user perspective. Do they like it? Is it colorful? Are they interested at all? Versus the customer might be making decisions based on economics, development, like what they want their child to experience, blah, blah, blah. So you can, again, dig into this a number of ways. That's just something important to consider. And that's also going to play into your marketing. So this is where this comes in. You want to be marketing to the person who's going to give you the money. Focus on them and their perspective on how this product is going to work for the user. So they're buying it for the user, but they need to be incentivized to buy it. And I haven't checked the chat to see if there's any questions. I'll take questions after I go through this. All right, so early adopters are people who, as it sounds, buy into your product early on. They're the ones giving you a vote of confidence. They're showing up to the first things that you do. They're buying the first iteration. For example, at Ìpàdé, we did we did a few pop-ups, 2 co-working specific pop-ups, and those were our early adopters. We didn't have a space. I was renting out another venue to do co-working and, as like a test, and people showed up. And some of those people actually became our founding members. Those are my early adopters. Some of them are still with me. And I'm like, that's family now, right? Because it's been like 3 years. So it's like, yeah, hey, you're in it. Those people are really special because they give you a lot of early feedback and support, I say. And this question of who will benefit from it, how they want it to benefit. So a lot of the founding members at Ìpàdé gave me really critical feedback that I needed to continue improving on services, on offering, on what's working, what's not working, what they wanted to see, what we could do, all types of things. So, but they're also there for you to provide the service too. So, you can just make sure you're meeting your customers' needs, but also you can be gathering data from that. Once you have a good sense of your audiences, your early adopters, it's important to think about how are you going to reach your audience? Where are they? Where are your customers? Where are your users? What's going to speak to them? Marketing. How do we get them into the sales pipeline? How do I cultivate them as a customer? How do I nurture them to go from someone who just heard about us to I've been with Ìpàdé for 3 years now. So the channels of initiation are important, and then you're also going to move them into different channels. Let's see. They might find you on social media via picture. So I post, we post our events on social. Then they come to our website. They might be thinking about it for a little while. They're like, oh, okay, I heard about it. They come to an event. Like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. I love this event. I want to come back, throw my own event. They book the space for their own event. That's at least 4 steps. There are probably some more in there as well, like being on the email list. So they continue to hear from us and see our offerings. The offerings resonate with them. The offerings are solving a problem for them. And we make something easy. We make life easier for them in some way. And all that's going to happen through your communication channels. All right, let's see, where's 8? All right, 8 is down here. I move things around a little bit because the order, for me, this is a better order. It was in a different order, but I think you go around it in a little circle like this. So revenue, again, what am I offering that people will pay for? I learned someone said this quote, and it's always stuck with me. It's that if your business is not making money, it's just a hobby. And I was like, oh, wow. Now, give yourself grace. It's going to take a couple years. It might take years. It might take months. It might take some time, but it's up to you to decide how much time you give it before you get the revenue that you want. Now, not necessarily profit. So profit's one thing, revenue's another. And, you have to make that choice of whether revenue is enough for you to keep going or what profit margin is ideal for you. So profit, of course, we want that. The higher the profit margin, the better. But also, be thinking about, I actually need to make money. And I found that a lot of the Black women that I've spoken to in particular have complicated feelings around making money, around charging appropriately, believing that people will pay an amount for a certain product. And I'll give you all an example. I was charging a certain amount for people to use the space for photography and filming. And I was like, this is not enough for what it takes for me to provide the service. I have to be there. Sometimes they make a mess. Sometimes, I have to help them do things. So that's my time, that's space. They might be, sometimes people damage things, that happens. So it's like, well, is it really worth that amount or can I charge more? I was like, I'm doing a little experiment. I love testing. I love seeing like, hey, will it work or will it not? So I doubled the price. Doubled. The next day, a TV company booked it. So, and people continue to pay that price that I doubled without, again, and these are more professional people, right? So they're not, so they know how to treat a venue. They can do more things by themselves, like coming with the whole crew, it's done. I don't have to spend so much time and energy, and I'm charging more. So that's just, again, an example of, yeah, you could be charging more for your products if you need to, because you need to generate revenue, you need to earn a profit to keep your business going, to keep providing the service that you have to offer the community. So this question is really about identifying all those ways that you're going to make money. Again, Ìpàdé is an example. We rent the venue for filming and production. That's one price. The conference room is one price, and the full venue rental for an event or retreat or whatever type of gathering, that's another price. We also do things like sell candles because we always keep candles going, and we have our own branded candle. We do holiday markets and pop-ups, so people do pay a fee to participate in the market. So that's another way but that's revenue. We're providing them an opportunity to sell their products, and they're helping us keep the venue open so they can sell their products. So it's how do we help each other as businesses or as people? Not everyone has that same mission, right? So it's going to look different. But those are, some things that you can think about. Getting creative. Also, we plan our own events. So we have like a tea party that's happening next Sunday, and people are paying to participate in the tea party that we put together. Any number of things can be revenue streams. So just making sure that's clearly outlined. And also in the same vein, thinking about what are your costs, cost of goods sold. What does it cost? Again, so when I was offering I am offering, but when I was talking about the example of filming and production, it was costing me time, which is worth money. And it was costing the overhead of running the venue, the AC's on, the water's running, the rent. Those are costs. So fixed costs may be, how much a jar is going to cost. I got some shea butter. You know how much this jar is going to cost, pretty much. You know how much the natural shea butter is going to cost. You know how much the oil is going to cost. So those are your fixed costs. Variable costs might be how much you want to spend on marketing that month. I'm going to run an ad this month. It's going to be $100. Or actually, I'm going to scale up. I'm going to go hard. I'm going to put $500 in this marketing this month. So just make a note of those. So when you subtract, so this is going to give you an idea of, again, how much profit, what your profit margins are. Revenue minus cost, your profit. All right, key metrics, and this is the last item on the lean canvas. How do we track our progress? How are we measuring our success? Again, this is totally up to you, and there's no limit. It could be number of customers, number of products sold, number of repeat customers, the quality of the reviews. Like for me, if I see a 4-star review, that's not good enough. I want to know what happened, how I could do better. It's like, okay, sometimes it's hard to hear. You're like, wow, I did my best, but that wasn't, let me think about how I can implement a little change. Or, sometimes again, it's like, okay, well, actually that's not what we provide. That's fine. But, they're not our target if they're looking for something that, something different. So, other criteria for success might be year-over-year growth. We want to see that from 2022 to 23, our revenue increased by this much, or our profit margin increased, or the number of products sold. So a lot of different ways that you can think about measuring success, measuring progress. Could do it again week to week, week to week is a little bit much, but month to month, year to year. The idea here is just to be as specific as possible. So you're gonna make these SMART metrics. I'm gonna add that as well. down below, SMART. So this is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound, I believe. So we're gonna serve 300 customers with a high quality experience in 2024. We're going to vend at 10 pop-ups in December. That's money making for anyone who doesn't sell the product. I recommend holiday markets in December. People are spending a lot of money. You know, things like that. So be as specific as possible. But be realistic, right? Something that you can achieve, like, you know, the holiday markets are coming. We can get that. We can get those sales, and we're gonna get them by December 25th. Okay, so this is the Lean Canvas overview. I'm gonna go ahead and, if I can find the chat, drop the public link, I believe. Hopefully the link works. If it doesn't, let me know. And if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer really quickly. And then if someone wants to volunteer, we can walk through your Lean Canvas together. And I think we can be done by 11. I think we can do this by 11. Unless, Shannon, there's more you want to cover.
Nope, this would be it. And I definitely recommend that someone volunteer to walk through this with Elizabeth. It's incredibly helpful.